Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Eric Mon, and I'm the team lead of the Enterprise Customer Success team here at Frontify. I'll be moderating today's session, which is titled Using DAM to Scale Co-Branding Content and so much more. As a reminder, this is a live webinar. At the end of today's session, we'll have time for a live Q&A, so feel free to use the Q&A tab to submit your questions throughout the presentation. Also, later this afternoon, we will email you the recording and the slides from today's session so you have them as a reference and can share them with your respective teams. I'm personally really excited to be moderating today's webinar. In my role, I support enterprise brands that are struggling with fragmented processes, disorganized assets, gaps in collaboration, and overall brand consistency. I get to join them on their journey as they overcome these challenges and start to scale brand storytelling that resonates with their audiences. Today's guest presenter is one of the people that I get to work with, and the story that she's going to share is an exceptional example of scaling brand storytelling. But before we dive into today's presentation, I want to quickly tell you a little bit about Frontify. Frontify is a cloud-based brand management software where a user-friendly DAM meets customized brand portals. According to a recent survey of 300 customers, 96% say Frontify helps them achieve their goals, which we're really very proud of. We work with over 9,000 brands around the world, including Uber, Microsoft, and Spring Health. Speaking of Spring Health, I'm very pleased to welcome our guest presenter, Connie Bravo. Connie is the Senior Manager of Marketing Technology and Analytics at Spring Health. I'll let Connie introduce herself a bit more, but just know that when it comes to webinars, Connie is strongly opposed to anything that can be considered fluff, so you're all in for an engaging and informative session today. Welcome, Connie. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Eric. As always, lovely to be on your side, always a team effort. And yes, being a frequent webinar attendee and a very curious person, I hate walking away, feeling like I didn't learn anything. So trust when I say, this presentation is going to be chock full of helpful tips and tidbits and some lessons we've learned along the way, along our very fast implementation, I might add, of Frontify as well. So just a quick agenda. We're going to be a little bit about me, a little bit about our Spring Health brand, who we are, and really focusing on our tactical challenges, and our success stories, as well as some additional practical takeaways for everybody to just, feel a little bit more comfortable about the platform and how to navigate it, and also learning from, our mistakes. I wouldn't say mistakes, but learning from our challenges and kind of just our investigations as well. So a little bit about me. I joined Spring Health back in July of 2023, and I've pretty much been an admin in the system just as long. I wanted to also level set quickly. By no means am I a designer. Please don't ask me to draw a circle or even a straight line. I really specialize more in the data, the platform, and the operations side of everything. A little bit more, and you also notice my beautiful Zoom background. This is something that we used during our onboarding when we're facing a little bit of challenges with, getting a little bit more adoption, which is always kind of just one of those challenges that you receive, that you face when you're facing change management or any type of implementation. And so with our new platform implementation, we use this for, to reinforce that repetition. And it got noticed. And so I live in Colorado, and I've got about 20 years experience in marketing with the last, I'd say, like decade or so, hyper focus on operations, data, and analytics.
Hey, Connie, really quickly. I don't think
Yes.
we can only see the first slide.
Uh, Sorry about that. Thank you for that. Okay. And then a little bit about who Spring Health is. Spring Health is a comprehensive medical health solution for employers and health plans. Unlike any solution, we use precision mental health care to seamlessly pinpoint and deliver exactly the right fit for each person. So whether that's digital support, medication, exercise, coaching, therapy, medication, and beyond. With that, our branch strategy is very much focused on eliminating every barrier to mental health care. And with that, we really do support a wide variety of customers. And so whether it be just, either our customers or our prospects or our members are actually our customer employees, as well as our partners. We support each of these groups with customized content. This includes like PDFs and a very wide variety of just different document types. And so with that also means a significant amount of co-branding. So we co-brand about 75% of our assets, and we produce anywhere from about 10 to 50 publications per day. So, our use case for needing a DAM and a customization platform was every time we launched a new customer, we provide onboarding materials for their employees. And each implementation is unique. And it's very hard to do this at a mass scale. And also ensuring governance, data quality, and consistency, and brand and adhering to our brand guidelines. So we need to support customized copy. Each customer has different requirements. No plan is the same, so we needed a way to figure out how we can support this level of customization. We provide the support also year round. So, anytime something globally happens or anytime an incident happens at an employer, we have also, a select group of templates that we provide them. And, we just needed a better way to manage and have a single source of truth for all of these templates. So going into a little bit more about our tactical challenges and I think, why we were looking for a new solution. So our legacy platform was just not cutting it for us. We didn't have the capability to self-service. So we actually had to rely on the vendor to code our templates for us. Myself as an analyst and being in platforms and understanding, I hate that vague word of code because it's what are you actually doing. Needed that visibility into what that process was because it was taking a minimum of 3 to 6 weeks just for one template to get published. And I'll start off with saying I had no prior experience with our legacy platform. And it honestly took me only a few minutes just to jump on the train that we need a new solution ASAP. And it was because for me, it was one of the most frustrating and unintuitive platforms I've come across. And so I was really able to resonate with multiple teams across our organization that, were just presenting to us, we need a better solution. This is causing more angst and pain than it is being the tool that we need to provide, more than being a solution. Another was that our teams were reverting back to versioning assets out of a Google Drive, which honestly is a nightmare for data governance. People save templates in their own drive. They don't necessarily always look for the most up-to-date version. And so, we had also just undergone a significant brand refresh of all of our content. And so, being able to ensure that everyone was using correct versions was a nightmare because, we didn't have control over all of the, pretty much content that was existing out there in the universe. So those were, essentially the biggest challenges that we were looking at and that we wanted to solve for when we, went out on our expedition to, start demoing out different platforms and seeing which was going to be our new path forward. And we also, to break it down into what our teams were experiencing and how, our team challenges also kind of very much directly reflected our tactical challenges is our implementation team, they're constantly running. They have super high volume and a quick turnaround. So they need to move quickly while not sacrificing quality. And for them, it was easier for them to just version everything in Google Drive versus, go to the legacy platform to execute one template, then go back to Google Drive for the rest of it. So they really needed a all-in-one resource. Our customer success team was always, having challenges trying to find our content. What do I look for? We have this specific situation, I need to find a flyer about this topic or a guide about this topic. And just with the naming conventions that we had, it was very challenging for them. And so our marketing team was spending a lot of time just answering questions and pointing people to the right areas and the right files and the right folders rather than really being able to focus on strategy. And you'll hear that theme a lot. Is one of the success stories about Frontify, which I'll get to a little bit later. And in addition, our customer success team, they're the group that requires the highest level of self-service and they were the ones that also, really needed a wide library of content. Again, rather than having to ask for either new or existing content every time a new request came up. Our marketing team, as I mentioned before, we were really just a service desk. While we had, we wanted to be strategic and we really wanted to think about what we were doing and how can we improve our overall experience for our members? Is this content resonating? To people read this? We couldn't even ask these questions because we were always executing on behalf of our partner, on behalf of our internal partners and supporting our different teams and helping them with little things like making sure logos were sized correctly, making sure they had the accurate information. And so, we were less as thought leaders and less as strategic partners as we really wanted to be and as a marketing team really should be. So a little bit about our success story. So why I wanted to start off also by talking a little bit about why Frontify. For us, in the demo process, we could tell immediately that Frontify was leaps and bounds above our legacy platform. And I had no idea we were only scratching the surface. I have to say that this by far was the best platform team I worked with, and I've gone through more implementations than I care to admit. This was really, I very much felt supported by our implementation team, answered all of the questions that we had, helped us with set up a lot of our platform. We had a very tight timeline. For us, we needed to have our Frontify instance, or actually whatever solution we were going to implement, we needed it up and running by October. We started sourcing early August. And so, the Frontify team were great partners in helping us get everything that we needed done, help train, help provide resources for onboarding, help provide that admin onboarding to where we were able to meet that deadline. And so for me, they get a 5 out of 5 star rating for me. It was a really great experience. And also, we went from getting one template published in 3 to 6 weeks to 75 published in the matter of days. And the only reason why we didn't get more done is because we were still working through a backlog of templates that needed to be rebranded. For me, it takes about 10 minutes to load a new template. And that just depends on how many variables we have within our template. Frontify's also been great at improving our collaboration with all of our different stakeholder teams. So we easily, in platform, we easily communicate and add comments about templates or anytime there's changes. And we're confident that we no longer need to worry about, is this the most current version of the asset use? We're able to document control and keep all of that within the platform itself. And it's also our single source of truth. So our motto now is, if it's not in Frontify, it doesn't exist. We're now at the point where we are a well-oiled machine, and we're to the point where we've even started opening up access to other teams. We have significant savings on time, and we've enabled our marketing team to really focus on being more strategic rather than just executing requests. And so what do our success metrics look like? So for us, total since we've launched, we've published over 160 templates. By the end of this week, there'll probably be about 175. We've saved just 16 hours per design, not just, not for a group of templates. This is per design. So in our legacy method, there was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of data gathering, and there was a lot of collaboration. And so, rather than being an easy, quick self-service platform, there was a lot of things that people had to rely on. We're also expanded. We now have 4 departments onboarded, and word gets out quickly where, we continue to field new questions about, I keep hearing about Frontify, and we have a challenge. How does this work for me? How can we use Frontify for us? Do we think our team can enable this? And to which my question is always, yes, let's get everything in Frontify as much as we can. So a little bit more into, actually how we use the platform. And so we have, as I had mentioned earlier, we have a wide variety of content types. And so we're not just, it's not just one format. We use this for our collective library. And so we have PDFs, which consist of print, digital, direct mail. One of the tips that I can give is when you know that you've got a template that's set up to either be a print or direct mail, take advantage of the settings and set the crop marks, because that really does, reduce the amount of back and forth, especially when you're working directly with a printer. The same, the ability to download the version in design file is also very significant for us, because we do a lot of print and direct mail support to our partners. And so rather than having to involve potentially our creative team, we enable this to our users, and it's essentially just a one-click button. And then we just pass that on to our printing partners. We also have, many digital assets. We rely heavily on QR codes and hyperlinks. Now, the tip coming up for hyperlinks, if you have, variable data or unlocked copy blocks in the same copy block as the URL, my recommendation is to separate that hyperlink into its own copy block. That ensures that it works consistently, and that on the receiving end, the individual is able to click on it. And resource sharing. We've really adopted Frontify as our dam, where we house all of our customer logos. It is the source of truth for all of our customer logos, where, for example, in Google, we have legacy logos, and everyone just kind of throws every version of a logo they can find. It makes it difficult to try to, guess or just understand which one is the one that we need to use, which one is approved by our customer for use. We've taken care of all of that within our customer logo library, where we even have an approval process to indicate to our users, this is approved for use, so that we don't have to answer any more questions on which logo do I use. We have our pre-built library of QR codes, stock photos, and brand icons, and that's just touching the surface of everything that we've started to store within Frontify. For resource sharing, one of the great things about Frontify is the external sharing functionality, as well as just kind of the customizations that you can do with sharing permissions. So you can select one folder to share, and share it with just a single target group. So for example, going back to the logos, we opened up Frontify to our sales team. And so we have a very much different set of rules for our sales team, especially when they're they're working with a customer or a potential customer who is going through that prospecting process and the approval process. And so we set up a specific folder just for them. So we know that these logos have been pre-approved by the customer. And that's just an extra layer of governance that protects us along the way to ensure that we are always keeping our customer requirements and requests at the top of our list. And so I wanted to take a few minutes to show you just an example of some of our templates because it's easy to talk about it, but it's kind of hard to envision, what is she actually talking about when she's talking about co-branding? What does this really look like? And so this is actually one of our easier templates. And by easy, I mean it has very few variables. We have multi-page documents where, ranging anywhere from 10 to 20 pages and anywhere from 5 to 10 or 15 variables within those pages of data. Obviously, when we get to, those heavier templates, it takes a little bit longer, and we're always, doing extra layer of testing just to make sure that we internally have, identified and connected our data to each of our variables to make sure that we haven't missed anything. And this is an easy way to show. This template is of a magnet. And so, we see that the default setting is to download with our crop box, with our crop marks. And a tip I want to give for co-branding is making sure that you have an image placeholder box in the InDesign file. And this also applies to the QR code. This, when you unlock it in the template, will enable the end users to be able to swap it out. So you don't have to, the admin doesn't have to sit there and add in the QR code or the customer logo. That's actually done at the user level. And on this template, everything highlighted in red is variable. So we have dynamic our variable URLs, our customer logo, and our QR code. This is an example of digital signage. And this is actually an example of a very quick request turnaround. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And as you can imagine, as a mental health company, we have a lot of focus during this month and provide an extra layer of support to our audiences. So again, not just our customers, not just our prospects, but everybody. And so this was a great example of something where, it was a quick turnaround request. And it was very quick and easy to get uploaded and in the hands of our users. From the request to go live date in Frontify, it was about 2 days. And honestly, the majority of that time was just working through the design process. And so, it really helped us kind of just expand our reach and expand just, our vision and horizons of all of the possibilities of being able to share and utilize our content. As a marketing team, we often wonder, we do all this work, we create all of these pieces of content that we find beautiful and great. Is it being consumed? Well, we are able to see that in Frontify. We're able to see, how these are getting shared, who these are going to. And it's really, given us added insight into what our audiences like to consume and how they like to consume it. So going into a few additional takeaways about, what I've learned from implementing Frontify. First and foremost, don't be afraid or hesitant to experiment. The things we've been able to accomplish have just been mind-blowing. We are moving to global. We're going to be launching 25 languages. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we go into the data sheet, but if you would have asked me at the beginning of October, do we think we could go global? I probably would have been hesitant. But as you get more comfortable within this platform, you start to see how much of a powerhouse it is and how much functionality you can actually do. So every time we get a question, can this be done? I find it as a great experience and a great kind of investigation. Let's test it out. I have a feeling it can get done. Let's get it done. Um, Sharing. Forget Dropbox, forget zipped files. Because we have a wide variety of customers and a wide variety of industries, every customer has unique security limitations and policies in place. And so we've struggled a lot with just getting some of our larger files over to our customers. Now we just put everything in Frontify. We set everything up for external sharing, and we're able to very easily just send out a link. And users don't need to have a Frontify account, which is such an added bonus for us. So we don't have to use up a seat so our customers can see this, or our channel partners can see this content. We just send it to them directly. You can create a collection and send them a suite of predetermined assets that we want them to have access to. The, the options are just limitless. Trust in the approval process. Uh, this is one of the things that, has helped us put up guardrails, help ensure that we're sending out accurate information, that we're adhering to our brand guidelines, and that we really are putting our best foot forward, especially in the eyes of our customers. Big tip about co-branding. With co-branding, if you decide to go down that route, I highly recommend the first step is assessing all of the co-branding logos you'll be working with. Test the smallest and the largest ones, and then design your logo placeholders with those parameters in mind. This is going to save you a lot of time and a lot of revisions in the long run, and the testing, trust me, will be worth it. And for the data sheet, take advantage of Frontify's data sheet functionality. Originally our plan was to have our data directly integrated with Frontify. However, once we started, seeing the value of the Google Sheet connection, we decided we're going to stay this route because we're able to add in additional customization options. And dive into that a little bit more. So of course, this data doesn't represent the true data in our data sheet. So for security reasons, I've populated it with everyone's favorite lorem ipsum. So as I said, our original plan was to get our data integrated, whether it was going to be through the direct Google Sheet connection or the API connection. However, due to our internal very strict security policies, we weren't able to have our Google Sheet directly connected. And so now we have, we rely on our internal users, in our internal audiences, use our Google Sheet, our customer data sheet, for inputting and adjusting and customizing. And then we upload our CSV into Frontify. And it's honestly, I would not have it any other way now. It takes less than 2 minutes, usually seconds, just to upload. And the biggest benefit is the added functionality and customer level customization that we've been able to achieve through this process. So just kind of some examples of what we customize and where we customize and how we customize it. You'll see everything in here that I'm showing is just scratching the surface of what we customize. So we have our copyright year. So no more having to sit there and go through 160 files and updating the year at the end of every single page. It's all linked to this data sheet. So every time the year changes, we just upload a new and updated CSV, and it changes across all of our templates. We also have our vanity URLs, customer-specific phone numbers, customer-specific plan information. You'll see number of sessions, number of coaching plans. We even have Spanish language translations. Also, just a tip for training, regular maintenance. I suggest everybody, preach and reminds everyone that as often as possible, and especially in the beginning, the first step is always to check the data sheet. This is, again, to cut down on the back and forth. When you're working with fast moving teams, sometimes it's very easy to forget the order of operations in the process. And so sometimes, they update the data sheet, then go straight into editing their template and submit it for approval. Just, an added tip, keep that repetition of the data sheet's always step number one. And here is it some additional customization that we've done. So you'll see here that we have unique package dropdowns. That is for, our within each dropdown are about 12 different options, all tied to additional content, that are additional about 2 to 3 lines of copy for each one of those. That's all built on VLOOKUPs, and throughout. And then looking at this Spanish language template, yes, I'll go. We're doing this significantly across the board with 24 different languages for all of our onboarding kits. So it's about 10 each. Are we going to create that many templates? No, we're creating just one. And what we're doing is we're working with translation organizations and we're designing our template based on sizes where copy blocks will get auto-populated based on the language that our user selects and the company. Everything will populate in the language desired. And that for us is going to be a significant and huge amount of savings, and something that the organization has been striving to get to. We have been focused on supporting our global team, but we just didn't have the manpower, didn't have the ability, and to be able to mass produce 240 unique templates. Now that's no longer an issue. Now we're just creating 20 and just driving the translation and all of the copy directly in. And so that was a significant win for us. And that is the end of our session. I hope, I provided some valuable tips for you to use along your Frontify journey. And I will then pass it over to Eric for questions.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Connie. I mean, from my perspective, it's been really insightful to watch you and your team go on this journey and really witness how much growth is taking place, especially in a short period of time. We do have a few questions from the audience, so we'll dive right into the Q&A, but I'd also like to start with one. Um, you touched on how smooth the onboarding process was with Frontify, and I know this is definitely a source of fear, discomfort for a lot of companies. What should someone look out for in a good onboarding experience, as well as just ongoing support post-launch?
No, absolutely. As I had mentioned earlier, implementation and managing change management is never an easy task. It's always going to be something that requires attention, dedication, and repetition. Some of the things that we've done that have worked for us are, having a very detailed playbook, and linking that everywhere. So linking that in our access invitations, on the access request site, in our brand guidelines section within Frontify, as well as just pinning in various Slack channels as well. We also held, obviously, training sessions where, we had them live, we had them recorded. We'll work with our departments, our stakeholder departments, and ask to be featured and attend one of their calls just to kind of remind them. We have Frontify office hours. We have dedicated Slack channels. And let me tell you, that Slack channel is not one of those that you set up once and then you have to, and you're like, oh, this is never getting used, let's delete it. That is a very high traffic channel for us where, we collaborate directly with our end users, and, they'll ask questions, ask suggestions, even, ask for new pieces of content. Hey, I'd like to see this in Frontify as well. So some additional tips, just from learning, I'd recommend, having as many templates live as possible. Because of the tight time frame, we weren't able to get all of our templates loaded by October. And it was just a little bit of kind of education that we had to do once we had a bigger library. One of my favorite things too, within the brand guidelines themselves and in the template section on the front end of Frontify, is leveraging those annotations and the notes when you set up and add your template to those pages. It's super, when you have frequently asked questions and you feel like you're answering the same thing over and over again, or if you notice that there's an extra level of customization that needs to happen, that's a great resource to kind of be that, don't forget, right before they create the design. And then lastly, find your super users. When you find those people who, they're in there, they're using it, they get excited about it, work with them, let them be your advocates, because they will definitely help spread the word, to the point where you're like, oh, wow, you know, getting Frontify questions. I want access. Let's, add it to our team. How can we use it from all types of directions?
Awesome. I love that and completely agree with that. Another question is, can you briefly walk us through some of the guardrails you have in place for the templates that help you maintain consistency across all of these different teams?
No, absolutely. As I mentioned before, we kind of live by our approval process. It's one of those things that have saved us from sending out potentially like something without a logo, the wrong QR code. So we really, really rely on that approval process. We have a team of approvers. That way it's not just left to one individual. And we maintain a very tight SLA. Our external facing SLA, which is to our partners, is usually between 24 to 48 hours. We've kept it very tight, and so we usually, keep it within less than 24 hours, and just also because it's, we're very in the in the momentum, we've got it down pat, just that process. And so it's usually, we look at our queue in the morning, in the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, depending on time zones, we'll rotate, and we usually get them done same day.
Awesome. And the next question is, what's the process for adding new templates to Frontify?
Oh, love that question. Because it's one of those things that once people started, hey, I like this, I want to get this in Frontify. How can I do it? We kind of didn't have the process. We're like, maybe just add it to the Slack channel. And that wasn't working for us. So we added it to our formal intake process. So we use a task management tool. And so, we've created it as kind of its own request type. And it's really become a lot easier because one of the frequently asked questions we were getting is, how can I get this into Frontify? And so, just another side note is my answer to that is always before submit your request is there an InDesign file? So it's always kind of just that create that repetition to make sure that, no, it all depends. It's like, if it's customized, yeah, we're gonna need an InDesign file. If we're just sharing with our external partners, or if we're just sharing with somebody, we can do PDFs or different file types.
Amazing. Yeah, I think having an internal, like you mentioned earlier in the onboarding process, and having a playbook in there, I think that having that as a part of a playbook is absolutely crucial, and can save a lot of time on the back end once you go live as well. That we help with the internal comms process. It's a collaborative process with all our clients as well. The next question, and this is a really good question because I know there's a lot of tools out there just in terms of having a tech stack, and it can be really overwhelming for people evaluating these tools. From your perspective, how does Frontify compare specifically to other templating tools?
So we did it, as I mentioned before, we did our due diligence. Um, and really, just looking back at the vendors we were looking at, there aren't that many platforms that do what Frontify does. Um, and with the level of customization that we need, and plus that added, we need a fully self-service platform. So we're in a time in marketing, especially where prospects, customers, everyone's demanding personalized experiences, tailored messaging. And we selected Frontify because we could directly support this. And I know that there's some creative platforms. Like if you think about maybe like Canva or like a Figma, you know, but they're really just that, creative, but not mass customizable content, let alone they don't really serve as a DAM either, or an external sharing platform, where you can control access to target groups. And this is what Frontify does. This is what Frontify specializes in. And for us, this is, the best number one point of Frontify is just having that flexibility and having that ability to mass execute.
Awesome. Love that. One thing that you brought up earlier, and we got a question from the audience, is you mentioned that Frontify has generated significant time savings so your marketing team can focus on more strategic initiatives. What impact has that had on your larger business objectives so far?
We've been able to restructure our marketing team. So where we had individuals, within our customer success org, we were at a point where we had individual marketing managers associated to groups of customers, and their main focus was just supporting them. We've actually moved and migrated from that model and are very much strategically focused. And so we've enabled those marketers to really just focus on improving our marketing, improving our strategy, thinking about, what's next? What can we try? How can we best support our customers? Really being thought leaders. And so that's one of the things that have made me happiest about this overall change is it's freeing up marketing to be marketing, not only just, you know, like I mentioned before, not just order takers, not just task executors, not just, okay, yes, I will put this QR code in your design. It's more like we want to see better adoption with our CTAs on this content. How can we improve visibility into, conversions to our website? And so, these are the areas that we're able to be a smarter marketing team, more data driven and less reactive.
Awesome. We have two more questions. One is, does Frontify have a function to protect duplicate assets? Yes, we do. We have asset duplicate detection through an algorithm that is essentially called a perceptual hash. So it reviews the following formats for comparison. So you have DNG files, EPS files, GIF files. And so it runs through the entire media library on the back end through the DAM, and you have an option to go in and see all the duplicate assets that have been registered within the system, and then you can go in and review and delete the duplicates in there. We will follow up with a more detailed answer to that question as well. And then the last question that we have is essentially just a more broad speaking question is what has been the broader feedback from your team and leadership since joining Frontify?
Wow. I'm gonna say everyone's been very receptive about it. Nobody questions, why do we have this? We don't even get questions on, is this being adopted anymore? It's essentially just, the proof is in the pudding. We are able to, we see the time savings. And so we get mentioned in all hands. It gets mentioned, you know, in a lot of places, in a lot of venues that I'm not even high level conversations that I'm not even a part of. And so we've had very, strong support from our leadership. And, it's one of those things where our ROI is so massive to figure out just because we have so many templates that we publish. It's in the millions of our savings. It's, you got to take a look at all of the publications that we've approved on a monthly basis, which we're managing anywhere from 10 to 50 a day. And so if we're looking at like 16 hours per template, that's well over covering the return and the cost of what the platform is.
Awesome. Well, unfortunately, we are at time. So that's all we have time for today. But Connie, I want to thank you so much for making the time to join us and share your insights. I also want to thank everyone who joined us live for this session and for everyone who's watching the recording. If we didn't get to your questions, we have it logged and we will follow up with a response via email that you registered with. And as a final reminder, later this afternoon, we'll be sending everyone an email with a link to the recording as well as the slides from today's session. So thank you all again and have a great rest of your day.
Happy Frontifying, everyone.
Bye.